Alright, starting in 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? My name is Chase Ross, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to manual. Let's get right into this. What's happening, guys? My name is Chase Ross, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to manual. So a manual is a super important trick to learn because you can link other tricks with it. So say you're coming out of a bowl, you're in the middle of a run or a line, and you want to link another trick. You're going to come out of the bowl, manual, and then drop into the other one, or just all around. It's just a great trick to learn because it's good for balance. So what a manual is when we're staying with our front wheel up in the air, and we're pivoting with our body weight, and we're manualing like this. That's what a manual is. So now let's talk about how to actually approach the manual. So the main thing with the manual is finding your balance point. So for starters, you can start out by just taking 1 foot on and 1 foot off and just finding your balance point like this. Keeping that front wheel up in the air is a great thing to do. The more comfortable you get with the trick, the easier it becomes. So starting out, your manuals might only be like maybe a foot, or maybe you're starting out, you're just being able to lift that front wheel. That's okay. Everybody starts out in one spot, and you just build from there. So at first, I would recommend finding like a flat surface like this. I got a tennis court today, or maybe a skate park, but you just want some flat area. It's gonna be a lot easier if you got a flat ground. And also I'd recommend maybe throwing on some fresh wheels. If your wheels are fresh, it makes the trick a little bit easier because there's less when your wheels are just really bumpy, it makes it a little bit harder to find that balance point. But when your wheels are perfectly smooth, like some fresh Rapture wheels right here, it's easier to find that balance point. So that'd be what I start off with. Find some flat ground, some big open area like a tennis court, and some fresh wheels. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about actually what we're gonna do with the manual. So let me show you guys one first real quick. Alright, now that you guys have seen what a manual looks like, now let's talk about the fundamental parts of how to manual. So let's start out by just talking about what a manual is. So we're gonna of course lift that front wheel. Now that we got that front wheel lifted, we're now going to try to find the balance point. Now really when it comes to finding the balance point, it's all in the hips and butt right here. It's going to be your counterweight. So if you're leaning too far forward, you're going to keep that butt back and lift that front wheel up. Also, you're going to use your arms to help pull it up, and it's kind of a constant motion like this. Now if you're leaning too far back, you want to suck your butt in, and that's going to counterweight it forward, so you're going to balance back out, and then you'll find that neutral spot again. Now a great way to find the neutral spot to get balanced is to first start out with 1 foot right here, and then 1 foot off your scooter. Now you can use your foot as a counterweight right here, and you can kind of find that balance point just like that. But what a manual is when you have both feet on, so you're gonna actually need to find that balance weight with just your booty right here. Just like that. All right, now that we got that out of the way, you guys know what a manual is, you guys can now figure out how to find the balance point. Now let's talk about what we wanna do. We wanna first find a flat area, of course. Makes it easier when we got a flat ground. But now let's talk about actually approaching the manual. So now we're gonna get some speed. This trick is actually easier when you have a lot of speed, because when you're moving, it's a little bit easier to stay balanced when you're in motion than when you're just standing here straight, still, not doing anything. So let's get some speed, and then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna slowly lift that front wheel. This is gonna be the first step to actually getting the manual down. Let me show you real quick. Good amount of speed, and we're gonna lift that front wheel, and just kind of keep getting that front wheel up in the air. It may not seem like much, but honestly, just getting that front wheel up in the air just for even a split second is going to help you build the confidence just to get that manual. Eventually, you'll be able to get that front wheel up. You'll do a little pump back and forth, and that's when you know you're actually engaging the manual. And when you feel that, you'll be able to start then guiding your hips back and forth, just like this, to be able to adjust the manual and keep riding a little bit longer. Now we're going to basically build off of what we just talked about, moving the hips, lifting that front wheel, and we're going to try to actually do a manual for real right now. We're actually going to try to get a little bit of speed right here. We're going to lift that front wheel, and now we're going to shift our hips back and forth to try to find that balance point. And then we're going to let it back down. Alright, so a couple things you can do to help manuals a little bit easier, and also it'll make it kind of like funner just to do manuals. Pick some tape, or grab some tape, put it on the ground, give yourself a little markers. For me, I'm going to personally use these lines on this tennis court because they're already here. I can use those now as my markers, so I know actually how far I'm getting, a little bit of progression. And also when you have an end goal in mind, it actually makes it so much easier to do this trick because you aim for it. And what happens when you don't have an end goal, you kind of start to get tired and you're like, I don't know how long I can do this for, so you just start dropping it way too early. So when you have an end goal set in mind, eventually you might be doing this whole tennis court right here. When you have that end goal, you know how long you need to hold it, and it lets you dig in, and you're like, okay, I gotta make it to the end, and then you finish through and you get all the way. So I'm going to show you guys a couple more break it down, slow-mo it, show you guys some hip movage that you guys can do to help make this trick a little bit easier. And I'm gonna go ahead and manual this entire line right here. A couple quick tips that I want to add before actually approaching the manual and going out and doing it for yourself is foot placement. So this is a huge spot. You want to make sure you have your back foot as close to the back wheel as you can. Now it's so much easier when your back foot's back here because your center of gravity is closer to that back wheel. If it's all the way up here in the front, it makes it so much harder to balance. Like try to imagine balancing like this on your scooter. It's just not going to happen. It's just going to be so much harder. So get that back foot all the way back in the back, where you're all the way back there. You're lowest to the center of gravity. And now that you're there, you also want to crouch your body down a little bit because you don't want to be standing like 6 foot in the air tall. I mean, you want to be down low. The lower you are to that center of gravity, the easier it is to control it. And now that we got that done, let's talk about one more tip that's going to really help with doing this. So, brakes. It's such a controversial thing to talk about because a lot of people hate brakes, a lot of people love brakes. I personally am for brakes. I think it's a great way to get your control down, and it allows you to actually do the manual and allows you to also turn with your manuals, because when you add a brake, it's like an extra tool that you can use while manualing. So to use your brake, you want to put your back foot right here, and you want to arch your arch right over the brake right there. Now, what this kind of does, which is why it's so controversial, is kind of like a cheat. Because say you're leaning way too far back, all you gotta do, lightly press on the brake, and it lowers that front wheel down. Now that you got that, it's like a cheat because you don't have to move your hips as much. So you let your brake actually do the work. I'll demonstrate right now. Starting to lean too far back, push on the brake. Now I can go back forward. It instantly drops the manual to make it easier to land. So instead of looping out and just going back 100 times, and it's never fun to land on your butt. So don't try to do that. So the brake is there. You can use it. Once you get comfortable without it, I'd recommend moving away from it. Kind of gives a little more style, but it's up to you. I always like using the brake just for turns and stuff. It makes it a little easier for me personally. But now let's talk about how to bail, because I haven't touched on this yet. So when it comes to bail, this trick is actually super easy to bail out of. You don't have to, it's not like a flip where you're stuck upside down. You literally just jump off your scooter. So you're gonna come up, you're going straight, and say you're leaning too far back. All you're gonna do, just kick your scooter out and let that scooter go. It's super easy, and it's hard to get hurt actually doing the trick, but if you do happen to get to the point where of no return, where you do fall, just throw your hands back, let your scooter go, and land like that. I'll show you guys a couple more manuals right now. Alright guys, I hope this video helped a lot. I'm just going to get a real quick manual around this skate park, but around this tennis court right here for you guys. Come around this corner, use that body weight shifting back and forth just like we were talking about. Let's make it to this line right here. There we go. Alright guys, I hope this tutorial right here helped you guys how to manual. Hopefully by now you guys can go outside, get a couple manuals done, and call it a day. And hopefully you guys can drop a comment and say, yo Chase, just landed my manual. I would love to hear that. Let me know how it goes. But if you guys want to learn some other tutorials or other tricks, I have a bunch of tutorials on that, so you guys can check out those videos on my how-to playlist. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.